Hey guys. All right. We're gonna give it just a couple of minutes, waiting for everybody to join. I'm really excited. Today's content's gonna be absolutely insane. I'm gonna share with you guys in today's webinar the methods, the tools, the techniques that I use to go from 0 orders on Fiverr to over 150, all 5-star reviews. Now, I did this by following some tried and true principles. And I'm going to go through those principles today in this PowerPoint presentation. It's going to be engaging. It's going to have all of the pitfalls, the things that I've seen where people start to work on their goals and they start to make money on Fiverr and then they sabotage themselves. And they do it by committing some of the most simplest, easy to avoid mistakes. So today's webinar is about lessons learned. It's about what to do, how to do it, but really we're focusing on the mindset, the mindset of success as the strategy that I use. So not so much getting into the technical details. I'm not going to tell you exactly what to write in your description, but I'm going to tell you how to go about it. And the philosophy and the strategy is way more important than just getting out there and typing something and it sits nowhere and goes nowhere. So a lot of this information is going to lead you to a more effective gig, and it's ultimately going to help you make more money. And we'll talk about how I did it, how I was successful, how successful I was on Fiverr. I'm going to break down all the key strategies. So I'm really hoping we get a great turnout today. And even if it's only a couple people, that's even better because you can ask me questions. Dig into my mind and I will share everything that I know. No bars held, nothing held back. I'm going to be completely transparent and I want you guys to succeed. Why am I sharing all this? Well, I started in a similar spot. I had no clue what I was doing. I spent years just flailing around, flapping around online, not knowing what I was doing, making a couple dollars here and there. Ultimately, it's over the years of trial and error, learning from others, and then finally figuring it out. And then I got to the point where I could literally turn on and off traffic to my gigs like I was turning a faucet. So I think we've got a couple seconds left, but I'm going to start right at 11 o'clock. So we'll just give everybody a second to get situated. And if you're joining, thank you guys so much. I know it was a quick notice, and I like to do these flash webinars because, again, having something out there for too long, it's you can plan on it and you can clear your schedule and whatnot, but I think it's a little bit more interesting if you're in the right place at the right time and we can start learning together. So, all right, guys, without further ado, let's jump into the content. I'm just going to minimize the screen and hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I've got the mic on and let's jump straight into the presentation. All right, guys. Well, welcome to the online freelance bootcamp talking about Fiverr, how to make money with Fiverr, how I was able to grow from $0 to over 15,000. And actually, the real number now today is well over 20 or so $1,000. That's because Fiverr takes a small percentage of each commission. But whether you're using Fiverr or Upwork or on freelancer.com, doesn't matter the platform. You could even have your own website doing this. The strategy is what's important. So we're going to dive deep into the mindset of freelancing. And how do you actually market yourself? How do you price your gig? What's important about the title? How do you think about driving traffic in so you can get that 150 orders? You can make that $20,000 and work part-time. If I was doing this full-time, I'd be well over $100,000. But I just do this a couple of hours a week, and I've been doing it just to have extra money, and it's fun. This is a development tool for me. I actually spoke to one of the great freelancers, Mike Nardi. If you've seen his YouTube channels, I think he's got over 40,000 subscribers. but I did an interview with him on my podcast once, and he said he got into freelancing to develop his skills. And it's funny because I got into freelancing to develop my drawing skills. Mike got into freelancing to develop his writing skills. So think of an area that you're really talented in or that you want to build skills in, and then use the platform as your learning tool, and you're getting paid to learn. This is priceless. So let's jump into the main content. So who am I? I'm an online entrepreneur, a freelance business expert. I've got a mechanical engineering degree and an MBA and business certificate graduate level from the George Mason University in data analytics and business analytics. I've specialized in high ticket sales online. These are orders of like 500 to 1,000. Some orders I've actually had at 1,500 to 2,000. I even had a $4,000 order per month 1 year, but that was a number of years back. That alone grossed me over $20,000 just from that one order. So the principles I'm teaching here are not just to one specific niche. And this is really important. I don't care if you're blog writing, if you're life coaching, doing web design, consulting, maybe you're a programmer or you're specializing in consulting or graphic design. Maybe you do logos or illustrations. I've done many different markets, and collectively, they've all done extremely well because the way that I market is very precise, and how I deal with customers is very precise, and my pricing is very precise. We're going to look at those strategies. What do I do differently, and how can you guys emulate it? Now, today's content, and I'm not going to go into super detail of each of these areas, but I want to give you guys an overview of how I think about marketing, how I think about my gigs and dealing with customers. And you're going to see the ins and outs of building traffic, analyzing data. And so the content today is going to cover advertising online, marketing, and targeting customers according to these principles. We're going to look at copy. So specific copywriting techniques that you can use. But remember, it's not just in the writing, but the visuals. You want to tell, you want to show, not tell your audience what you bring to the table and what's special about your gigs. One of my favorite sayings from Sir Marshall McLuhan is the massage or the medium is the message. The way that we present something is what we're conveying to the audience. We take care in the quality of our writing and use psychology to convey those standards. This will help you to really make a difference when it comes to selling, of getting across your message to your audience. We'll talk about communication, guys. This is where many freelancers, when they're novice or even advanced, they fail because they don't go about communication the right way. This is about understanding the market psychology and customs and cultures and dealing with different variety of people. You've got to have that awareness in order to communicate effectively. Quality control. Don't send anything to your customers that you're not proud of. We'll talk about that piece of the puzzle. My pricing technique is proprietary. I use this on every single custom offer, and I'm going to teach you and share with you how I do it. So you're going to learn that today. I developed this CQTV method, which is used to target customers according to these marketing principles. We'll talk about those. It's a good mnemonic, and if you use this, you don't have to use any other method. You're set. Where does traffic come from? How do you get traffic flowing? This is not about going on social media and just posting or pay-per-click advertising. We're going to talk about a holistic viewpoint. How do you use all these different channels and how do they work together to deliver you traffic flowing to your gig? Converting that traffic is the people are coming across your store. How do you attract the people that you know are going to buy from you? How do you make them interested in what you have to offer? This is all about the title, about the picture, about the video. It's about the marketing content. It's the whole package, but also solving a problem for a specific segment. We'll talk about what that means. And then I have a really amazing bonus. So please, please, please don't miss that last part of this presentation. Probably the most important thing. If you pick up this ending part, this could be the game changer. So stick around to the end. This could make a huge difference for your business. All right. Advertising. So advertising is about who's your customer, what do they want, and how do you become like a magnet to pull them in? 3 areas of advertising is focusing on a key product or service, delivering a multi-stream of advertising. This is where I talked about pay-per-click and social media, but there's so many free resources and tools. I'm always so surprised that people don't latch onto this area, because this could be a game changer when it comes to bringing in free traffic. But if you're on Fiverr or you're on Upwork or one of these major platforms, you don't even have to worry about this part of it. So this is all bonus, right? This is, if you don't want to sit back and wait, you can actually speed up the process of bringing people to buy from you. And then data analytics. This is an area when you advertise, you don't just advertise and have no clue how effective your advertising is. You need to see how much you're spending in terms of time, cost, dollars, whatever, and what effect it's having on people coming by your store. This is the ultimate feedback tool. If you have not looked at your analytics before, or you don't rarely look at it, you're missing out, because high impressions with low number of clicks means you're not grabbing people's attention. Your pricing is way off, or your photo or your video is completely off the mark. If you have high traffic, you've done something right. Your title is very good, but your title might be pitched to the wrong audience. So all of these tools are feedback that we can improve upon. So the funnel, we've got social media outlets everywhere, where we might have a Twitter, we might have a Facebook account, we might have YouTube videos we're creating. And all of those people that are watching and consuming our content then get funneled to, maybe it's a blog post, maybe it's your website. Then finally from your website, you go to your gig. So there's strategies of pulling people in, and you can actually do this funnel on Fiverr itself. You might have a gig about writing blogs for your website. You can have a gig around writing blogs for a dentistry service or for a restaurant. And the way to think about this is to complement your gigs with adjacent market segments. If I'm going to do writing, I'm also going to do web design. If I'm going to do programming for JavaScript, I'm also going to have programming for HTML. So these are 2 separate needs and 2 different potential customers. But when a customer finds you and they're like, wow, you do a great job. You did a great job for me. What else can you do in a related field? You can actually expand how much money you're making from that customer, and also provide incredible value back to them at the same token. So think about funneling traffic in by sending out these different tentacles, or actually a great analogy is a fishing rod. So you're fishing, and you want to have as many rods as possible so you can catch as many fish as possible. SEO, we'll talk a little bit about that, but focus on keywords. These keywords are what the customer is looking for. You want to really focus in on the needs of the customer and create valuable content. So if you're going to do a blog post, so let me take a step back here for a second and talk about, say you're selling blog writing or voiceovers, okay? You're a voiceover creator on Fiverr. How do you attract people to your voiceover gig? You need to prove to that person and convince them to buy from you that you're the expert, that you're in demand, that you've done professional publications before, and that you know the ins and outs of why you're doing voiceovers and how to do voiceovers effectively. You know the microphone, you know the audio editing portion of it. You know what their customers want, which is a really pleasant voice. Maybe they want digital editing. Maybe you're a script writer. You know how to write really well, and deliver powerful, emotive scripts. Teach other people how to do it. And by teaching, you're now the SME. You're the subject matter expert. And this will actually completely boost up your sales and the perceived value you're bringing to your potential customers. To convert people, you need to learn about sales and closing and psychology of persuasion. I suggest 2 really good books. One's called The Psychology of Persuasion, and the other one's Cashvertising. Look those 2 books up, read them, study in them. It's going to make a humongous difference in your ability to close. Now I'm going to give you guys a 101 Marketing Fundamentals course. This is the way that I think about marketing. Number 1, differentiation. How do you stand out? So if there's 10 people right next to you, there's got to be something that you do or the way you come across that's really different, that catches people's attention. And this is about providing value, unique value, and outperforming your competition. Let's say your competitor, Alice over here, sells a gig for $10. Well, you offer twice as much value and you're selling for $5. Now guess who's going to win in a coin toss? 5 times out of 10, or 8 times out of 10, you're going to come out ahead of your competition. So think about swaying that probability in your favor. Always, always, always refine your product to align with your customers. And I tend to do and fall back to this thing called competitive maps. You can actually lay out 2 dimensions. We're going to actually do an example here in the next slide. But maybe your competitors are really good quality, but very, very expensive. You might be great quality, but very cheap, or low quality and cheap. So think about and start mapping out who are your competitors and where do you fall relative to them. There's one more thing to consider here, which is really important, is how do you know who your competitors are? In a marketplace like Fiverr, it's really easy to find out. Type the name of your title, of your gig title, in the search engine and see who comes up. Guess what? Those are your competitors. You can take 5 or 10 of them and lay them out on a map, and you can figure out how to actually beat them. If you beat them, you're going to get lots of repeat customers, guaranteed. Being authentic. This is about not pretending you're a huge corporation. You're a person. People want to do business with other people. So being authentic and true to yourself is what this part's all about. This is the example I was just talking about, the competitive map illustration, where we're looking at affordability versus convenience. And what we do is we place ourselves, where do we fall on these 2 dimensions? Are we more affordable and very convenient? Are we less convenient and maybe more affordable or less expensive? Or more expensive rather. And then you can actually plot each of your competitors, and you want to be differentiated. This is how you can actually see gaps in the market. If you're not competing, you're basically serving a certain customer and what they're looking for exactly. And they don't have to choose because you're the only one in that space. So this is a really important skill and technique you can master to improve your sales online. Let's talk about marketing copy, all right? Emphasizing your main benefit is about crafting a very thoughtful sales pitch and delivering the answer to what the customer wants. The customer wants to know that they will get a completed order. They want to know that they can trust your delivery, that you're a trustworthy person. So then the question is, how do we emphasize and how do we highlight and contrast ourselves that we're trustworthy? Well, if you're starting from 0, you're at a disadvantage. You have no trust in the marketplace. The best thing you could do is start to highlight, well, you've got 10 years experience, start to name drop people that you've worked for, companies that you've consulted with, throwing logos out there, showing your skills. That's another way you can earn trust, is maybe you have a product demo, or if you're a graphic designer, show all the logos you've designed. That's going to start building trust. But the number one way to build trust is to have reviews. This is a chicken and the egg problem. How do you have reviews if you've never had an order before? Well, you've got to use and leverage your networks. I know this is hard for some people. If you don't have a network, try to join some organizations, some forums, be helpful to other people. If you're really an expert in your field, teach other people. Start to build an audience and build a following, and then reach out to that audience and say, hey, or go to a family member. Surely somebody's willing to help. Or just go to 100 people, knock on the door and say, hey, I'm going to give you this for free. I'm trying to build this profile. Here's my Fiverr gig. Would be grateful if you give me the opportunity to build my portfolio, and in exchange, you get this product for free. Now you've got a leg up over all the competition. This is a competitive advantage, guys. If you can do this, and I'll talk about it later on again, but this is building trust is your first hurdle of everything. Customers want to be heard. So if they ask you for something, repeat it back to them, but don't say exactly their same words. Find your own way of understanding it, and then make sure that you communicate back that they're heard and they're understood. They want easy transactions. We'll talk about this also in the presentation, but don't make your customer work harder than you're working to deliver a product. The worst experience I ever had on Fiverr, I had a freelancer I was trying to do an order, and every 5 minutes for the first 2 days, they were asking me another question and trying to clarify things like they didn't understand. I spent hours just answering their questions for about maybe a project that would have taken 20 minutes to do. That's going to leave a 1-star review. That's going to be terrible and problematic. You think that you're being helpful by asking for all these clarifications, but it's detrimental, so avoid that. And of course, lastly, people want a problem solved, a specific problem solved. Customer communication. Let's talk about this, because this is one of the pitfalls that many new freelancers make this mistake, which is essentially asking the number one mistake in freelancing is asking your customer, what's your budget? Many of you might be shocked at this, because it's probably all that you ever ask is, what's your budget? Someone reaches out to you, say, what's your budget? Horrible. I'll tell you why it's horrible, because you're making yourself look like you have no clue what the cost of what your work is. You're conveying to someone that you're going to do it very cheaply, because if you ask for a budget, you're basically saying, I'll do it for super cheap. I don't care. That's begging. That's beggar's mentality. You want to come in and have control of the situation, say, this is how much it cost. That's your best bet. And if somebody has the money, they're going to say, yes, this person knows exactly what they want. They've made it very clear, but don't just make up a number in thin air. Tell them what it takes to build it and break it out. And don't lie. Don't make up something. Be transparent, but ultimately keep the control. This will give you the power to negotiate, but negotiate really high instead of give them the opportunity to say, oh, my budget's $5. And then you say, well, can I do it for 10? Not very effective. This next piece is how I want you to think about going forward your customer service standards. You are the concierge of a 5-star hotel in Switzerland. The mindset is you're dressed in a 3-piece suit. You can access any reservation that they want. You're at their beck and call. You'll drop what you're doing to help them out. This is the service mindset, and this is how you're going to make every customer feel like they're king and always deliver to that high standard. This is the proven way to get the 5-star review. We'll talk about what the 5-star review is, why it's important, and you need to master this area. If you're going to master anything and take away anything from today, it's get a rave review every single time if you can. Okay? Avoid desperation. We talked about that with the what's your budget, but think of yourself as the guy holding the acorns and the customer is a squirrel. What happens when you run towards a squirrel desperately trying to give them an acorn? They're going to be freaked out. They're going to run away from you as fast as possible. If you're calm and you sit with your acorns, and the acorns are valuable, they're not rotten, they're in good shape, they're value for the customer, they'll come to you. You just have to sit quietly and patiently. This is the attitude. I mean, be enthusiastic, be excited and happy, but don't be desperate. Desperation will put you so far away from what you want that you're never going to succeed if you're always from a place of desperation. That's why freelancing has to be, you've got to be comfortable to be freelancing. If you're starting off, I mean, get the flow in. Make sure your value is there, but really focus on being calm and composed. Just general attitude, right? How do you price your gigs? So let's talk about my pricing method. This is my business model. I'm sharing to you something I don't share with anybody. I haven't shared this before, but pricing is based on value. It's based on competition, and it's based on perceived value. So we're going to talk about these 3 elements and how you can control them. So if you're going to come up with a price, there's a few things you need to do. Number 1, you need to know what the customer wants. You need a scope of work or a statement of work. Customer wants a website. Great. How big is the website? How many pages are the website? Does he want writing on the website? You can eliminate a lot of the customer work by being very clear in your description and in the gig specifics of what you include with the gig, so that there's no question about what you're delivering, right? Clarity is power, because that clarity is going to allow you to come up with a very solid estimate. And it also allows your customers to understand what value you're bringing to the table. And you can actually sell a $1,000 website if you convey the value in the written marketing content and in the pictures and in what you're bringing to the table. Step 2 is determining what the market is selling for. So your market is going to be providing a whole bunch of different services. But look at your competitors, okay? So look at, for instance, if you're going to do web design, search on Fiverr, type in web designer, and see what people are selling. Not the people that are starting off, because they don't know what they're priced at. Market to the people that are level 2 and top rated sellers, because that's going to tell you how much they're able to do it for. Now, your own gig, let's say that you're doing business consulting and you know that the market rate is $100 per hour. Well, if somebody asks you how much will it cost you to do this gig, what you do is you take your hourly rate, then you break down how long it will take you to deliver that scope of work, and then you multiply it by your hourly rate. So if you come up with, when I do a website, for instance, I know it takes me 10 hours. Sometimes I can do them in 5, but most of the time it's 10 hours. I know that the average rate for a web designer is $20 to $50 an hour. So depending on the caliber of the customer, I'll adjust my pricing accordingly. Somebody is just starting out, they maybe don't have a whole lot of money, so $20 an hour is my rate. If somebody's more coming from like a startup or they have some capital, and I can tell that pretty quickly, I'll go with the higher rate and basically customize the order based on the demand and based on the target demographic. but I'll take 10 hours times $50 an hour, and there's my $500 website. Simple as that. So let's talk about perception and complexity factors. Perception is about $50 versus a $500 website. They both take the same amount of time. Why does some people pay $500 versus $50? Because I include graphics, content writing, SEO and customization, convenience and speed, but it's all for the same amount of time. But each of those pieces by themselves are worth $200 to $250. Because, and I'll break this out to you, if the customer has to find a graphic artist, they're going to spend an hour looking for that person. They might have to hire somebody and then hire a second person. They're going to pay for the service. And I am now providing that opportunity cost by packaging it all together. This is saving tons of time. It's also delivering exceptional value. They would even have to pay for the licensing fee for the graphics, but I'm including it in there. So work with perception to really change the way that you're interfacing with your customers. Okay? We talked about all these areas before, but I'm going to highlight them again. So communication. It's about being quick, pleasant, and there's a very specific time. You have about 10 to 15 minutes when somebody reaches out to you to respond and capture their excitement and enthusiasm. Otherwise, it's like a curve. So think of a bell curve. It goes up, and then slowly, their enthusiasm diminishes until it goes to nothing. So respond quickly to customers. This is instant communication, your best chance of actually closing a sale. Quality. You've got to be polished. Don't deliver something that you're not proud to stand behind. Watch your grammar, because a few mistakes is okay, but if you can't understand what you're writing, and let's say you're delivering a writing gig, I've seen this many times. Somebody says, I'll write your blog post, and you read their gig description, and it has about 100 errors in it. You're not conveying quality. You're shooting yourself in the foot. So and by no means am I saying you have to become the best grammar writer or speller in the world, but if you're poor in your grammar and your spelling, then your quality's got to be exceptional. You got to deliver something that really is transformative for your customers. Let's talk about timeliness. Never, ever, ever be late. The fastest way to dig your own grave early is to deliver a product late or be slow in communicating. If somebody says, where's my order? And it takes you a day or two to respond, 1 star. You're going down fast. Speed, reliability, enthusiasm. These are the keys to communication and timeliness. And value. We talked at length at value. I'm not going to go back over that again. But just remember this. People buy emotions and feelings. They don't buy anything else. They're not buying a widget. They're not buying a blog post. They want to buy what the blog post is going to give them, which is traffic. So think about the end result and think about the emotional appeal about why your customer is buying, and hit those notes. Hammer the nails on that. Rave reviews. You need to get 10 to 15 rave reviews if you want any chance of growing your Fiverr business. So then the question is begged, how do you get 10 to 15 rave reviews? You might say, Daniel, what's the secret? How do I get these rave reviews? To get a rave review, it's all about over-delivering, under-promising, over-delivering. Deliver a day early. Be ruthless in getting customer reviews. Be enthusiastic, be kind, constantly communicate with your customer. Tell them exactly what's going on. Keep them up to speed. Tell them of issues. Warn them ahead. And if somebody says, I'm not happy, don't deliver it anyways. In fact, send them the sample before you deliver it. Make sure they're good with it, then deliver. You want to guard against getting a negative feedback or a negative review. And you can mitigate that by sending somebody early to review, ask them questions, get their feedback, and usually it's going to be positive, and then deliver the order. Don't put yourself out there when you know for a fact your customer is not going to be happy. Because if they accept it and they leave 1 star, you've now shot down your potential of getting a lot more repeat customers. This is what happened with my business. So this is the timeline of when I first started freelancing. I had to deliver 10 to 15 jobs of $100 or more of value, and I only charged $5. So I did that for about 10 to 15 orders, and guess what kind of comments I got for this? This was the best order I've ever received on Fiverr. This is the best freelancer on Fiverr by far. I got those routinely. And those kind of comments, guys, is liquid gold that's going to just drive perpetual traffic forever. So get those 5-star reviews by over-delivering, especially up front. After I did that, I was able to bump up my pricing to $200 of value for $20. So I delivered websites that took me 10 hours or 15 hours, and I only charged $20. This continued. Now I had 20 or 30 reviews. Now, guys, I could go to stabilized market rates. And I was charging $200 to $500 per website, even up to $1,000. After that, after a while of doing that, now I was reputable. And I had tons of testimonials, and I was the expert. So then when someone said, how much do you want for this premium website? I could charge $4,000 a month to support it. And I'm not even, that number was real. I made that for 3 months in a row working on a website project. It was insane. But I got there very gradually. So this is not an overnight success. This is something you can build. And after a year or two, even less time, I know Mike Nardi was making $4,000 months by writing around the clock, but he had a full-time job and he was doing freelancing on the side. So just, it's possible if you are skilled and your skills are in demand and you follow this. Of course, you follow my methods. In summary, we talked about a lot of different things. We talked about defining your customer, niching down. We talked about how to get your title and SEO to work for you using Fiverr algorithms. We talked about the psychology of selling. How do you communicate with your customers? How do you drive marketing to everything that you do? You're the Swiss concierge. Remember that metaphor of a 5-star Swiss hotel. Take consistent, unwavering action, and that kind of attitude will take you further than anything else. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been an honor to present to you today. This is the special bonus I wanted to offer exclusively now. If you guys are watching this right now, this live webinar, you're the only few that have the chance to jump in on this monthly subscription to have unlimited access to me 1 hour every single week with live training sessions where I'm going to actually help you with your gigs. I'm going to show you building a gig from scratch on Fiverr, how I do it. I'm going to review your gigs, provide live feedback, talk about the psychology of selling. What are the ways that I'm actually able to convert customers? We'll actually look at real conversations and how I go about them. Traffic boosting. I'll give you a roadmap to get more traffic to your business. And then, of course, you'll have VIP email access with questions, support, anything you guys need from me, and I will help you along the way. So I'm not just saying $24 a month. I'm also saying this is going to lead to ROI. You're going to 10 times this, 10x it. So it's only going to be a portion of what you're going to get because you're following these strategies. Guys, thank you so much. And you can actually go and find that offer on 247marketingonline.com/bonus. So go to that website now in Google and join me because it's going to make a huge, huge difference in your business online. But with that, I want to thank you guys so much. You can send an email, check out the website. I do want to pause here and take any questions that you guys have. So leave me a chat comment, and I'm going to answer your questions right now live. Let's see who all we have in the chat. All right. I am looking for any comments whatsoever. All right. And that's fine. If there's no comments right now, think about it and come back to me after the webinar. Guys, thank you guys so much. This has been an amazing experience, and I'll